lost 75 pounds and kept it off, even during the 80-hour weeks of surgical training. I'm Dr. Jon Go, I'm an ophthalmologist here in LA. Most people try harder, eat cleaner, and still don't lose fat because effort isn't a system. What worked for me was a 7-part system that survives real life. And I'm starting with the piece that makes or breaks the other 6. Step number 1, get your numbers right. Fat loss is math. But most people aren't using math, they're using vibes. They think they're eating pretty well, they think they're being consistent, and they think the scale should respond because they're trying hard. But effort isn't a calorie target. Start with your body weight times 12 to 15 for maintenance. Lower end if you're sedentary, higher end if you're active. Then subtract 500 calories per day. That gives you a realistic starting calorie deficit. For a healthy person, set a protein target of roughly 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of target body weight. If you have kidney issues, check with your doctor before going that high. In a calorie deficit, higher protein helps preserve muscle, especially if you're lifting. That matters because the goal isn't just to lose weight, it's to lose fat and keep or build muscle. Here's the important part. If your calories and protein aren't set, everything else is just noise. Meal timing, fasting, food quality, supplement hacks, all of it sits on top of the deficit. If the foundation is wrong, the rest is just decoration. You can use AI to do the math, that's fine. Just treat it like a calculator, not a therapist. It gives you a starting point. Your results tell you whether those estimations are on point. And once you have the numbers, the next question is whether your environment makes those numbers possible to execute or impossible. That's where most people fail. Step 2, modify your environment. Willpower is limited. Your environment isn't. So if you keep depending on motivation, you're going to lose to the version of you that's tired, that's hungry, and that's done making decisions by 9 p.m. That's why I care so much about environmental design. The best system isn't the one that works when you're 100% locked in. It's the one that still works when you're stressed, busy, and distracted. Alcohol is the quintessential example of this. It adds calories fast, it worsens appetite control, it can affect your hormone balance, and oftentimes it hurts your sleep, which makes fat loss and building muscle, not to mention your next day, a whole lot harder. So when people tell me they're doing everything right, but they're still drinking on the weekends, I already know where the lack of progress is coming from. Same thing with liquid calories, soda, sweet coffee drinks, cocktails. They're easy to consume and easy to underestimate. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stop leaking calories in places that don't make you feel fuller. For most people, this means making the healthy choice your default easy choice. Protein in the fridge, simple meals on the repeat, fewer decision points, less negotiating with yourself after a long day. That's not lack of discipline, that's system design. And once your environment is cleaner, you need feedback, because even a great environment doesn't tell you whether the plan is working. Step number 3, know where you stand. Think like a pilot. If the plane drifts a few degrees and you never check the heading, you can be wildly off course without ever realizing it. And fat loss works the same way. You only need 3 metrics. First is your daily body weight. Same time, same conditions every morning. Ignore the daily noise and use the weekly average. Second is waist circumference. It's one of the simplest practical ways to track central fat change, and it often shows progress that the scale misses. The third are progress photos, front, side, and back. Same lighting, same distance, and same pose. That gives you a visual record of changes that the scale simply can't measure. Weight trend tells you direction, waist tells you where the fat is changing, and photos tell you what the numbers can't. If you're not measuring those 3, you're mostly guessing. DEXA scan is better, but using the above 3 is also a good cheap surrogate. Now that you know how to measure, the next question is how to make your actual intake match the target. Step number 4, lock in your diet. Your calculator doesn't know your body, your watch doesn't know your body, and AI sure as hell doesn't know your body. They all estimate. Real-world data is what tells you whether the estimate was useful. For 2 weeks, track what you eat and compare it to your weekly weight trend. If the expected loss and the real loss don't match, adjust. That's calibration. That's how you stop spinning in circles. And this is where most people sabotage themselves. They build a diet they can't tolerate, they try to live on food they don't actually like, then act surprised when they quit. A better system is to take meals you already enjoy and make them fit the target. I made a free Asian meal prep guide to help with this, and I'll link it below. When you eat out, keep it simple. Protein first, baked, not fried. Watch the high-fat, high-carb combination because that's where calories really climb fast. If you estimate a restaurant meal, slightly overestimate it. Keeping a small buffer is usually better than pretending like you hit your macros and being disappointed when the scale doesn't move. The key isn't perfection here, it's repeatability. If the food system is easy enough to run on a rough week, it'll usually work on a good week too. But diet alone decides the scale. It doesn't decide the body you build. And that's what training is for. Step 5, lift heavy. Calories decide how much you lose. Lifting decides what you lose. That's the difference between losing 20 pounds of fat and losing 10 pounds of fat and 10 pounds of muscle. Same scale number, but very different appearance in the mirror. Focus on compound movements, squat, hinge, push, pull. These hit the most muscle per minute, which is exactly what you want when your time is limited. You can probably skip the isolation work like bicep curls and lateral raises until you've got a good handle on the main compound movements. That is, unless these are your weak areas, of course. Lift at a weight where you can squeeze out about 6 to 10 reps, leaving about 1 to 2 left in the tank before failure. This is otherwise known as reps in reserve. Target about 5 to 10 hardworking sets per muscle group per week. Check out my other videos on training for more of a deep dive into weightlifting. This is where protein earns its keep. Adequate protein plus hard lifting is what tells your body to hold on to muscle during a caloric deficit. Drop either one and you lose the body composition war. And once the lifting is dialed in, the next question is what to do about the rest of your movement, because cardio is where most people waste the most time. Step number 6. Add zone 2 cardio. Most guys reach for high intensity interval training or HIIT because it feels productive. But if you're already lifting hard, HIIT can actually steal recovery from the workouts that actually drive the body composition change. Zone 2 is the better tool. Low intensity, conversational pace, 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. If you can hold a sentence but not a whole monologue, you're probably there. Start with 2 to 3 sessions a week, about 30 minutes each. The point isn't to crush yourself here. The point is to build the cardiovascular engine underneath the lifting without competing with it. It can look like a stationary bike or incline walking while you're answering emails or even watching Netflix. Personally, I do a light jog for half an hour every morning. You don't always need to carve out cardio time. You just need to add movement to time you already have. But even with good food, good lifting, and steady zone 2, progress slows at some point. That isn't a problem. That's biology and thermodynamics. Step 7, course correct. Fat loss isn't linear. As body weight drops, maintenance drops too. As diet fatigue builds, adherence can slip a little. That's why the system has to adapt. Once a week, spend 10 minutes reviewing the dashboard, weekly average weight, waist, and gym performance. If things are moving as planned, leave it alone. If things haven't changed at all, try adding steps or daily activity before touching your calories. And if you do adjust calories, adjust no more than 10% either way, usually about 100 to 200 calories a day. If your gym performance is slipping, maybe you need to bump up your calories a little bit. The big mindset shift is this: a plateau isn't a failure, it's feedback. Most people panic and do something extreme. The better move is to make a small correction and keep the system moving. The reason this system works isn't because it's cool or manly or paleo or carnivore. It works because it survives real life. That's the whole game for busy people. Not the perfect week, but the repeatable week. And if you want the next layer, I built a video on the 10 most common mistakes keeping men above 20% body fat. That one picks up exactly where this one leaves off. Check that out here.